Hello, this is Bob Dean. After my presentation the other night, someone asked me to go through the logic that I use in creating my black and white conversions. So I'm going to do a very quick and dirty video here. I'm not going to spend time refining masks or doing anything clever. I'm just going to show you a real quick review of how I go through the logic of how I do these things. Okay, this picture of Lori here has already gone through Adobe Camera Raw, and I've cropped it. This is the same gal that gave me the finger the other night in that video I showed. But anyway, I'll start. There's several ways you can convert to black and white. Tons of ways, I'm sure. I don't know what they are. The worst thing you can do probably is do an adjustment layer and go to hue and saturation and just desaturate. That's very poor, I'm told, and just doesn't work fiddle with that. So I'll just get rid of that hue and saturation layer. There's also an adjustment layer, black and white. You can do that. It's a little more sophisticated. If you notice up here, there's a little hand, a little scrubby finger you can get there. And if you put it over this, like this light background, click and then go back and forth. See the whole, anything that's about this tone will go darker and lighter as you scrub back and forth. If I do it up here in the black, it's pretty cool. You can do that. Anyway, you can learn that sometime or look into it. There's also a way through channels that I don't even have any idea about. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, I'm going to go to my filter, Nik software, Silver Effects Pro 2. It's just what I've been using, and it takes care of a lot of issues to me. Okay, there are a ton of presets. I often use preset number 5. I kind of like it. It's punchy. Now, Lori wouldn't like it because it shows her pores and, makes her look a little bit older and whatnot. I'll take care of that later. But right now, I'm going to say okay and accept this that preset. Takes a minute to come up, even on a pretty fast computer. A lot of info there. Okay. The first thing I do is look at a white balance, or at least a white point. Go down to adjustment layers here. Go to curves, which I'm going to do several times. And notice that there's a huge amount over here in the white. There's not much in there. Now, there's a little bit down here, teeny bit of white point, but I like to brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over some. Now, when you click the eyeball on and off, everything gets brighter. Ultimately, I'm going to make the background darker, so I don't want the background brighter here. So we have a mask. I'm going to hit Control-I and turn the mask into a black mask. Now I'm going to get a brush. Okay, I got the white paint on there, opacity 100%. Make the brush larger and just paint over her face. Okay, so now click the eyeball on and off, brighten her up a bit. Now it may be that her nose is a little bit too bright. Nose is often got the brightest part of all. So go back to the little scrubby hand here, put it on the nose. Yeah, it's way up at the top. It's almost blown out, not quite. So what I can do now with the mask is go back to I've made it white. I'm going to go back to a black brush, and just instead of 100% opacity, I'll make it down to about, I'll make it this 24%. Now make this brush smaller and just do her nose a couple times. So I brought the nose back. So it's still the brightest area there. It's not totally blown out like it almost was before. Okay. Next thing I would tend to do is, I said I'm going to darken the background. I'll go ahead and do that. Make another adjustment, another curves adjustment layer. And again, I'll get this pointer and see. Now look over on the histogram. You can see this huge point over here. Not surprisingly, it's where this is. So I'm going to pull that down and darken it a lot. Now, of course, I've darkened Lori a lot too. So I'm going to put a mask over Lori's face and bring her back. Let's see, which am I doing? Sometimes get confused and do these things backwards. Okay, I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to do 100% to make this fast, but I would never do this. In fact, if I was trying to make a nice mask here, I'd do it like 30 or 40%, do it multiple times. But see, you do this. Okay, you got Lori's face back. So now, let's see, missed a couple spots on the mask here. Okay, you turn the eyeball on and off, and now, okay, she's pretty bright, pops out. Now, of course, around the, let's see, get a pointer here. Around this area, you can see there's a halo, which is because I did this so fast and poorly. And when you do 100% brush, usually you get a big area around it of I can't think of the term, feathering, I guess it is. If you use a smaller brush and lesser opacity and do it multiple times, you can pretty much keep that from happening. I'm not going to take that much time. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is around her eyes. That's pretty dark. I mean, the brim of the hat has made her face, it's helped with the light, but it's still a little darker in quantity than I want. So go to curves again, get my little scrubby hand, and go over her, see what is around her eyes there. Okay, you see about where that is, where I want to brighten, well, that's not so much there, but I like to brighten this stuff up right about here. So I'm going to push it up, way up. Now, again, I'll make the mask black. Control I. So it's like I haven't done anything yet. But now I'll grab a white brush, and I'll just pick, I'll say 30%. Let's kind of guess at this, 30%. Make the brush smaller, and then start doing around her eyelids here. And now click the eyeball on and off. Yeah, that helps. Maybe I overdid it a little bit. If I did, I'll just take the opacity. Notice where my cursor is. You grab the opacity and pull it back some. When you get used to this, there's all kinds of ways to fiddle with this. So click the eyeball on and off. Okay, I've done something there. Now actually on her iris, I'd like to make that a bit brighter. Right around, well, anyway, I'll get another curves. And I'll grab the little scrubby here again and look over right around her iris. She has blue eyes. You can see where the, as far as that dark actually, see where the point is just about there. Okay, I'll push it up a bit. And actually, what I'm going to push it way up. Okay, now again, I'll get the black mask, I'll Control I, so the mask goes away, the effect goes away. Now I'm going to get a white brush. I'll make it 100% just for kicks. It'd be funny, actually. Make the brush very small and just go over her eyes. Now, you click the eyeball on and off. It's almost like she's a Martian. It's really kind of gotten out of hand. So again, I'll go back up to opacity here, go back and forth, until I find something that seems reasonable to me. I'll click on and off. Yeah, I think I did something without making it look like from outer space. So I'm getting there. Now she's got a pretty good flow of light. It's darker on the left side of her face than the right side. Let's pretend it wasn't. I wanted to make even a greater flow of light. I'll make another curves adjustment layer. Just about in the middle midpoint, I'll pull it down, make everything darker. And then I'm going to go over to the gradient mask and just, you see the gradient over here on the left side, and then draw a line across this, and bingo. Now, I often do this backwards. I get confused and go backwards. So I just click the eyeball on and off. And yeah, it does what I want it to do. I wanted to make her left side of her face even darker and the right side not. But then I cheat. And notice it's the black side of the mask is what covers the effect. I'm going to get a black brush. I'll go to 100% to be quick and dirty again. Make this a bit larger. And just over this eye, I'm going to get rid of that effect. And then I'm going to make it bigger on this side of the face. I'm going to get rid of the effect. So now you click on and off. That's actually a bit cheating because if there was a flow of light, her eye wouldn't be quite that bright. But I think Vincent Passacci calls this a plausible improbability. I mean, it really wouldn't be exactly like that, but you believe it. It's not so far-fetched that that you know it's fake. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now, usually I vignette a little bit. It's just my personal taste. So I'm going to grab, let's see what I'm going to do here. Oh, okay, I'm going to make a new layer, a new blank layer down here at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to grab a paintbrush. Now I haven't got a mask anything, it's just a whole layer. So I'm going to grab a paintbrush. I'll go to 10% opacity, make the brush kind of big, and just kind of quick go around the edge. Anyway, that's so it'll even bring a little more attention to her face, which is fairly bright. I'm going to look at my notes here real quick and see what I've forgotten. Filigree, vignette, yeah, sharp. Okay. Now I'm going to go to sharpening. You might say, well, my God, she's almost too sharp. We'll take care of that in a few minutes. So I'm going to go back to my original Silver Effects Pro. Now that's a layer, not an adjustment layer, but a layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer. Okay. The copy, Silver Pro 2 copy, I'm going to call that sharp. Because I do confuse myself on these things. Now I go up here to filter and to sharpen, and I just happen to choose Smart Sharpen. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, but I go to Smart Sharpen, and I've already picked some settings that are way over the top. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I accept that. Now, what I'm going to do is put a mask over the whole entire image. So go down to where you put a mask on, down below the adjustment layers here, and hold Alt while I click it, and it puts a black mask on. So it's like I've done nothing again. I'm back to ground zero. Now I'm going to get a white brush and put about 30% opacity, and I'm going to paint just the things that I want to sharpen. Now, what I want to sharpen, first thing I want to sharpen is her eyes. That's the main thing. Actually, I think I'm going to go to 20% opacity. She's got kind of nice eyelashes, so I'm going to make a real tiny brush and just paint her eyelashes a little bit, make them pop out. I'll paint her lips. Now I'm going to go to 50% opacity and go to the iris. That's the part that I really care about. And now I'm going to go to 100% opacity to do the bling. Usually bling, you really like to make it pop out. So there's her bling. I have to go back to 50% opacity and just do some of this hair that shows up. Sharpen the hair. That's not going to do much over there, but okay. Click the eyeball on and off. And I think it comes out pretty good. Look at her iris when I click it on and off. You can see it pops out some. And if you want to make it sharper, you can make it sharper. Oh, there's more bling down there. I didn't notice this. Now this you have to be careful with your mask because it's easy to make a little skinny necklace like that. You can lose that very easily and do a skin right next to it, which you really don't want to do. Anyway, eyeball on and off. That pops out pretty well. So now I got I would call this my working file. What I do is when I have a folder full of images like she was in there, I'll make two subfolders. I'm getting cotton mouth here. I got to drink something. I have a subfolder called Working, and Working would be this file, a PSD file with all the layers still there, so I can go back and make changes later if I wanted to. Now, if you use Silver Effects Pro is a DxO product. If you use DxO PhotoLab 4, you can actually import Nik software or the Silver Effects Pro as a smart object. You can go back to the Nik original file and change that. I can't. Once I've imported Nik into this Photoshop, it's locked. I can't go back to that. I have to start over again if I wanted to do something different. But that's what I'm stuck with. So that would be my working file. Now what I do is I duplicate this image, duplicate. It calls for a copy. I'll say, okay. This one I would call, I have another folder I call print. It should be called final, or JPEG would be a good answer for it. It's going to be the small file that I can put on Facebook, or I can print it small, or anything else when I really use it for. So now I've got this thing called print, which is or JPEG, which has got all these layers. I'm going to flatten it. At this point, I check the size of the image, which really isn't that important for this discussion, but it's 6.48. Actually, I usually make about 6, so I'll make it 6. So now 6 by 6 at 300, that'd be a good printing resolution. Okay, so here we go. Now I'll go back here and bring this up in size. Now, she's still way too over sharpened. I mean, I didn't do it in sharpening. I did it with that preset number 5. She doesn't want to see all that detail in there. Now, I don't know how somebody, maybe he can tell me, if I had this working file, and I've already got a separate file for sharpening, or excuse me, a separate layer for sharpening, I don't know how to also get a blurring layer in there. two layers that sort of counteract each other. So anyway, I'm going to take the background layer. Now this is the JPEG file again. Take the background, duplicate it. Then I'm going to go up to filter blur, and I choose Gaussian blur. Now just like I did in the sharpening thing, I've already preset this way over the top. So it's okay, I'll accept that. Now that I don't want it that blurry, that's no good. So now I get to choose, looking at the opacity of this layer, how much blurring I want. There's 100% blurring, here's 0 blurring, 100, 0. So now I just start tipping it up until, I'm looking at these pores. I don't want to make those pores look like that, she's going to hate me. Usually I wind up with around the 30% range, but it's just to taste. Yeah, that actually in her case, 37, 40. I think that looks pretty good. Her face, and then just talking about her skin. But of course, in doing this, I've made her eyes blurry. I don't want that, and some other things. So I'm going to now make a mask, a regular mask, with a black brush. I set the brush at 100%. The brush about the right size. Now I'll go over here and I'll paint her eyes. I'll paint the bling. As best I can. This is really poor, but it's. I can paint her lips. I'll paint her hair over here. So I'm going to say I'm fairly happy with that. Now maybe you wouldn't be happy with it. You can change it as you like. But you see how I'm thinking about this, what I do. So now I'll flatten this image. And now that's the one I would print or send to Facebook or put in a video to show you or whatever. That's it. I'm going to stop the recording, and hopefully this is helpful to some people. And if you think I'm heavy-handed and whatnot, well, you're probably right. I'll agree to that. Okay, good luck. Have a good day.